Hi, this is Kim Nelson with the Jewelry Design Department at FIT, doing another video for our three-stone ring project. I was going to actually do a video on rendering a painting, my three-quarter view drawing, but I had a few questions about it. Nothing serious, nothing I couldn't solve with a pencil. But I imagine that some of you are going to come up against needing to take your maquettes further. So I decided I would do one more video with the maquette, taking this one further than it has been taken so far. First thing I need to do is bring in the image of my finished drawing. That's picture frame. And I believe that'll do it. Let's find out. Yeah. So I've brought it in. I'm going to put it on the same layer as the other drawing that I have. The one that I had used to make my maquette. Sorry, not my maquette, my design study. I'm actually going to remove that drawing. I don't need it anymore. I'm going to set this up like I always set up my surfaces for a picture frame by making it mostly transparent. And of course it's not going to be the right size or anything else that I need, so I have to do that next. Going to put away the ring design, the ring maquette. I'm going to take my line work here and I'm going to rotate it up in the front view. Since I placed this drawing at 0, 0 before I exported it to Adobe Illustrator format, it's already in position to be rotated. So in the right C-plane, rotate, start at 0, click, click. Three-quarter view will not be useful for what I'm going to do. I don't know as I will need anything but the front view, but in case I do, I'll ungroup those and regroup each drawing in its own individual group. I'm going to move this into the center right here. I'm going to do that with project, mid-snap, and then I'm going to rotate it. And I will change the color of that, of the layer, so I can keep them distinct. The top view is going to be the least useful to me. In fact, I'm not going to clutter my drawing with it. My design. And throw away the frame. And put this on a layer that's not a black drawing layer. Layer 4, the blue layer will work. Actually, maybe I'll use the default layer, which at this point is now pink, for whatever reason. Okay. That sets me up. Going to do a little bit of tidying here. Okay, that's my stone, that's my shank, those are my side stones. All right. Looks like everything has a purpose, so nothing to be done away with at this point. So, what I need to do now is make my reference drawing actual size. The way I'm going to do that, I know that happens to be a 17mm ring bore, so I'll replicate that. And then I'll take that curve and I'll just move it up roughly centered. Actually, I'm going to want to use a copy of that, so I'm going to copy that out to clipboard, undo, undo, and then paste it back in. That way I have two of them. I'm going to do an offset curve, just because it's easier than doing a scale at this point. Do my best to replicate what I see going on in the drawing. So this is my reference curve, this is my target curve. Transform, orient 2 points, scale yes, 3D. Reference point 1, that'll be on the reference curve. Reference point 2, the other quadrant across. Target point 1 on the target curve. Target point 2 on the target curve. I can throw that away now. And that should have presented me with a viable 2-scale version of this. Yep. I think I would like this in the side view as well, so I'm going to make a copy, paste, top C-plane so I can rotate it 90 degrees. I don't happen to have right C-plane so I can draw. I don't happen to have any geometry here that's terribly useful as a reference. But if I just draw a line right down the middle, that seems pretty good. I'm going to offset it both sides just to confirm, because it just takes a second to do. Pretty good. All right, so I'm going to use that to move this. I'm going to move top C-plane, project, and point to move from first reference point, or my reference point. Here, point to move to, my target point is 0. I can throw that curve over. Actually, why not keep it? I just activated front C-plane and projected it. So now I have a picture frame I can use for either view. I'm only going to want one of these active at a time, or it'll get very confusing. I'm going to take the right one. I'm going to hide it, Control H. If I ever want it back, Control Shift H brings it back, and I can click on it. Lock that so I don't accidentally select it. And now I can actually get started with the work at hand. I need to analyze what I'm looking at here. This is a really important element, and this is a really important element. I'm going to do the prong element first because it intimidates me the most, frankly. I think I can estimate that prong with a 0.5 millimeter, a 1 millimeter pipe. I'm going to get a center line by extruding 0.5. Maybe 0.45. So a 0.9 wire. If that confuses you, it's because basically I need half of the thickness of the wire for its center line. And when you make a pipe, you're always working with a center line. Drew a curve down the middle so that I can trim half of this away. Going to draw a line straight up somewhere around there. Bring in my stone. Activate my top C-plane so I can move this in the direction I want it. And I had decided that I wanted the center line of this double split prong somewhere out in here. Might as well move that right onto the girdle. Turn off project now. Pick up near. I can move that later if I want to. But that gives me an idea. I would like this half a curve. I believed, oh, this half curve. I want to move it out and have it line up with the front of this surface right here. Fastest way to do that is activate my front C-plane, project, delete input equals no, select this object and project the curve right onto it. Then I can take this, make sure project is off, end snap, click, click. I can then delete that curve. So now I know that touches right at the front. I actually want it to go in 0.5 millimeter, 0.45 millimeters. So top C-plane. Click to start my move, type in 0.45 to restrict the distance, constrain the distance, move it back inward. I'm doing that because I want the pipe to be 0.45 as its radius. So I would also like to move this back in 0.45. And I can choose to do that by eye, or I can get clever with it. I'll do it by eye. So I am going to just move that by eye. I'll actually go to my top viewport, except for it becomes impossible to see in the top viewport. If I want to see that in the top viewport, but it's a little teeny blip that I can't see, how can I make it visible? The answer is just put a point on top and select it along with it. Now when I go into my top C-plane, it's obvious. I can even shade, and since they're selected, they'll still be visible. I want to constrain that the same 0.45. That works for me. Okay. I'm going to do a blend curve. I'm going to take a look at my drawing. That's interesting. When you get into real life, things do change. It looks like this is further out on my drawing. I have two choices. I can estimate this, or I can go back and find ways to get it exact. I'm going to estimate it. End, near. Actually, I'll go end to end. I don't really want to, well, here. That's about as far over as I'd want to go anyway, even if the drawing disagrees with me. So, yeah, that comes closer. Adjust my handles till I get something somewhat in the spirit of what my drawing has. Mirror it over. Delete that curve. Join. Now I have a choice here. I'll do it the way I normally do it. I'll record history. Mirror it over. Delete. Turn off the mounting. Turn on the control points. And turn on my graph. If I move this point using point snap right on top of the endpoint, and then move it again holding Shift key. That'll give me 3 points in a row. You can't see this other point, but it is following it. 3 points in a row gives you tangency, which means that is now smooth at the bottom. I don't like this dropping down below, so I'm going to put it on the next one over and move it out. That gives me 5 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row, which gives me fourth degree curvature, which is very, very smooth. Okay, I'm done with that. Join these together. And mirror this over. And add it. Selection for joining. And now if I want this to be a compound curve, which is what it is right now, I can leave it like that, but I don't. I want it to be a single curve, so I'm going to rebuild it with enough points that I think it'll hold tight. 25 should do it. I want an odd number because an odd number will leave a control point in the middle, which makes it symmetrical. So if I want to come back in and mess with the control points on this, as I do so, the results will be symmetrical from side to side. And once again, if I want these to be in a straight line, move it down on top of that point, move it again holding Shift key as I go up, and that'll keep it smooth to that curve. Grab these two from side to side, top of the point, straight up. I like that. That's good enough for a maquette. So there is my three-dimensional curve. If I pipe this now, which I will, 1 millimeter diameter with history, I should have a reasonably good match with the front plane of my maquette here. It should bite into the under bezel fairly aggressively and give me what I want. I am going to push it back a little bit. Come in here. Be sure to make a symmetrical selection of points. And because history is on, when I move those back and forth, it will obey. I think that's sound. So I have this. Problem with what I have is that I want this to be double prong at the top, single prong at the bottom. I could also have it be a little bit thicker. I took it down to 0.9. Oh, it's supposed to be 0.95 actually. So I'm going to rewire it, repipe that with history. So that 0.95 actually ends up being substantially thinner right here. I did that just to demonstrate. I am going to go back to the 1 millimeter now. And actually, I think I'm going to need like 1.1. Well, make sure history was on. Turn on my points. Once again, symmetrical point selection. Move it straight up. Looks like 1 millimeter might actually be the ticket. So, record history, pipe it again. Points back on. That looks pretty good, actually. All right. So there's my basic wire for my prongs. But I want this to be a split prong up here on top. So I'm going to explode my pipe, which will break history. And I would like a cross section of it right here in the middle, which I will get with my section tool. As you know by now, I use that a lot. Throw the rest away. I'm going to set a C-plane. Maybe not. Take a look. I want to do an ellipse here. Actually, I'm going to start with a rectangle, to be honest, from center. I'll just use the point at the top of that. And I want it to be 1.6 by 1. Actually, 1.6 by 0.2. 1.6 by 1.1. All right. I'm going to rotate this until it faces into my stone properly. Like so. Now, if I was doing this for manufacturing, I would need to bump this out. I don't want my stone biting halfway into my prongs. If I'm doing this for manufacturing, using near snap so I can slide along one side and keep it straight, I would do that. Now, I would like to have this same cross section at the girdle. Copy, undo, paste. That way. I have to. I should have copied it down. Mirror. Something like that. Okay? But these cross sections and that circular cross section are going to have a real problem with each other. I know that right off the bat. So I will put a square here as well. Somehow, I lost track of me. Now I may sweeten that cross section up later, but for now it'll do. And do a single rail sweep. Check that my seams are in the right place. I have one of them flipped here. Okay, turn off my object snaps. I had the arrow going the other direction there, and we can't have that. It'll twist. Sweep one rail. Usually you can avoid that by clicking in the same kind of area on each section. Nope, it still really wants to flip that one. Okay. And see, somewhere we have a twist. Do it again. All right. Outside corner facing forward. This is the one that's wrong. All right. Okay. Not very attractive, but that's okay. It shows me some things that I need to see. Do some of these road-like options and see what I get. Nope. Yeah, road-like front gives me about what I had. And road-like right, I think, is going to give me something very strange. So that's going to be as good as I'm going to get with the parameters that I have. Okay. I have to ask myself what I think about that. Right now, the way this is set up is that these outside surfaces end up in the front. And I do believe that's what I want. So that will work. I'm going to put in one more cross section. Curve, circle, around curve. I'm going to pick where it gets the twistiest. Right here. Make a surface. Do an intersection. Throw this away. Make that a C-plane. So I can draw right there in three-dimensional space. I want to take a look at what I have here. This should be 1.07, okay. 1.459. Honestly, that isn't bad. I was checking to see how much distortion I was getting, but that's not bad distortion. Insert that over here, sweep it again. Rail, section, 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 section. Check my seams. This lining up your seam is important. See, I'm picturing this surface, and this is the bottom edge of it. There's a surface, bottom edge, surface, bottom edge. Flip. Let's take a look. Okay, it's not much happier. But okay, I'm thinking, that's the joy of the way I do videos, is I get time to stop and think about what I'm seeing here and whether I like it or don't like it. It's all right. Okay. I would like these curves to actually pass through the center of these cross sections. This additional section didn't make much of a difference. Surface planar curves. And actually, I probably didn't need to do that. Area centroid, because area centroid can locate. Oh, actually, it's doing them separately. For some reason, it won't give me the area centroid on the top one. If I select the curve, it will. All right, good. For now, one side will do. Cutting plane. Zero. Cut off that side so I can do what I did before, and that is do a blend curve. Join, rebuild, the 25 thing. Oh, gotta join the gaps on. Turn on my points. Remove any extras that I don't like. Turn on my graph. Same process of just making sure that when I rebuilt that curve, I lose some of the crisp straight lines that I might want. I'm going to see if that made a marked difference. I don't need these surfaces anymore. As I said earlier, I don't think I needed them in the first place. I certainly don't need the round caps anymore. So, surface tools, one rail sweep, back corner, and flip. That does give me a little less tortured thing going on here. I think for a maquette, that's okay. It isn't fabulous looking. Only thing I could do is what I did before, and that is to try and see where I think it's really twisting and force it to twist earlier or later. And that process, once again, is simply to come in here, grab that curve, and do a circle around a curve. Great way to get a cross section. Come right down in here where it really is starting to twist. Surface, section. C-plane. And then take a look. What I would like this to do is to rotate a little bit more in sympathy with this front plane. To do that, I can rotate it like that. But I suspect that's just going to cause more trouble. Let's find out. You'll notice how little regard I hold surfacing, and I'll throw away surfaces without hesitation. Surfaces are easy to make. It's just click, click, click. Especially when I'm doing one rail sweeps like this. There's really nothing to them. Now see, I find this interesting. It really does want to move these to the back. I'm going to see what happens if I let it. It seems wrong to me. Just flip that so the arrows point the same way. Yeah, no. Sorry, Rhino. I have to disagree. So do it again. I see that here, and I see that here. Even worse, and I got some very bad twisting. Let's ignore the twisting on that side for a minute and just look at what I have on the side here. Interesting. Record history. And do it again. It's starting to be interesting enough that I am pretty much ready to let it go. You may not see a great deal of improvement. But what I'm doing as I do this is I'm seeing where my problem is going to be with a three-dimensional form. It's just an honest problem. It's just going to be a challenge no matter what. Something I can try and do, so I can try and take these two sections and move them forward a little bit. Because I do have the history attached. And when I do that, it kind of helps, but it causes other problems. So I'm going to live with this the way it is. That's my loft, okay. My pipe. Single rail sweep. So here are my basic curves. I need to now make these into cross sections that'll actually be useful to me. Create a C-plane so I can draw up here. Actually, I want my camera to also focus up here. So I'm going to hit zoom selected. That way I don't have to keep trying to get the camera to come back. I want a split prong here. So draw a curve both sides. Draw another one going the other way. Move that one up a little bit. Don't want it to be from the center. Intersect. Draw that curve going out like so, to kind of mimic a saw blade. Trim. I want to round some corners. More than that. Mirror it over and use that to trim off. Corners, blend curve, adjustable. Now that'll do. Draw another circle on the outside corner. I can make it a little bigger over here. Trim. And blend curve. That's fine. Do another circle. Trim. And blend curve. Now, I know I've been telling you to leave hard corners. The reason I'm not leaving hard corners is that I want to start to understand how this would actually look rotating in space. And those hard corners make my life more difficult. Okay, I'm going to now create the same cross-section down here at the girdle, and it should actually be able to just be copied. Because in theory, those two cross sections were the same. Two rectangles. Yeah. Where it's going to get interesting is coming down to here. I need a center point. Going to do a orient 2 points. I do not want it to scale this time. I do want to copy. Point mid from my references, because I want a reference that I can find in both. Now see, that's interesting. It's going to do a very strange, that's because of where the C-plane is set up. Let's try it again, using different points. I can't use different points. Let's try it anyway. Hit. See, whatever I do, it's going to, because of the way the C-planes are working, it's confused. It's all right. I can just rotate it into position. Point, mid, mid. I find that very strange. Okay. Going to set a C-plane to this curve, make a surface first. I make surfaces, you can set a C-plane to a plane, well actually that might be part of my problem right there. Okay. Yeah, it wants to give me a very strange orientation of that C-plane. I'm going to use a ellipse diameter. Remember, the power of an ellipse for C-planes is that it will always make a C-plane go friendly to the ellipse, like so. All right. Orient 3 points. Copy, yes. Point, mid, mid. Point, mid, mid. Okay, that's as good as it's going to get. So what that tells me is this rectangle was being allowed to really warp a lot. It's not really a rectangle, it's a parallelogram. All right, good to know. Non-uniform scale. And okay, that brings it in. Now, I don't think, well, I know I don't want that much of a notch in it here. So I'm going to, first off, put a surface on this, set a C-plane to that surface, so I get a better oriented C-plane. I'm going to explode this, and take the corners off. Join anything that's left. Interesting. Now, I don't want that point to be as far down on this cross section. In fact, that would be enough. That might even be too much. But we'll leave it at that for now. I want these to have more rounded corners than they have. So I'm going to scale the flats down. Considerably. only going to work on one side because the other side is going to be invalid anyway. Remember, if I hold down Shift key when I adjust these, it adjusts symmetrically. I'll use the fillet command first. And I'll open that up to where it almost takes all of that out. Gives me just a nubbin to do my blends on. Okay. A curve with this many segments is poisonous to work with. I will rebuild that. Down to 12. And do the same point slide that we've been doing to assure that I keep a smooth transition going. Something like that. Do the same thing here. Apparently those didn't join. And I just filleted it to make it so it would fit. Let's keep the point count where it was, or higher. Fine. Grab these, mirror them over. It's interesting. Back up a little bit. Take this over. Take this original curve, copy it out, and then redo. Paste it back in. Okay, so something's going on here that no matter where I mirror it at, I'm not getting the same results. This is the vagaries of working with this very strange form and shape. So I'll do the best with it I can. Once again, it's a maquette, so my bad. I got the one result I wanted and then kept clicking enter in a non-uniform scale. That's dangerous because it's going to just give you what you had before. There's going to be a dent in here. See that? Which I don't like. So, I'm going to do a curve, tangent, two curves, tap here somewhere. Try it again. Nope. So I'm going to draw a curve tangent from a curve. And hit tangent as the object snap. Try it from this side. It's as close as I'm going to get. I can try and get those to be nice and smooth, but at this point I'm losing patience. These do have to meet in the middle, however. So, there. Join, closed curve, top, mirror it over. And that leaves me with my last one, which is just going to have rounded corners. I'll just use a fillet. 0.3, let's see what that gives me. Fine. So, now we'll try it again. Oh, before I get too carried away, I need to mirror these two over. And try our loft, our single rail sweep. And basically whatever I get at this point, I'm going to accept and move on. Unless it's just terrible. Interesting. I'm going to put the seam right in the middle of the back. Going to make sure that the arrows are pointing where I want them. I have some crazy twisting going on. Okay, this time I will put the seam in the front. I use mid-snap on that one. So pointing out, pointing out, pointing up, pointing out. Okay. Better. See what global shape bending does. Gives me more of a bulge there than I would want. And it's the same. Okay. Somewhat tortured, not exactly elegant. But there we go. Not going to be acceptable for a final surface. But it will start to give me what I need to make this work. My real issue is right here. All right. I want to take the groove out of it. Weird seaplane, don't like it. Better. Trim that out. Okay, that point is right on the curve, and that's where I would like this to be centered on. Okay, this says this is not a closed curve. It says it has math problems. Yeah, see, it doesn't want to even fillet that. Here we go. It's important to me because I need to use a, I'm going to have to line up the fronts of this, and if I don't have a nice meeting point. Okay. That works, except for it's now got a bean shape, which I don't like. Tangent to curves. Reach way out here on the points. Thank you. And same thing here. It's a no-go there. All right, fine. That's got a bit of a bump in the back I don't like. Easily removed. Okay, fine. All right. And And the rest will be mid. And enter. Okay, fine. It decided to handle this in a rather strange fashion, but fine. The maquette for the front brackets, front prongs. Obviously some work needs to be done with my pencil to make that valid, but I do have a better understanding of it now, which is what I needed. Okay, I'm going to pause this video here.